Steve Gamache here with a Chef Knives to Go quick look product review, and here we're going to look at the Murata Buho Blue number 1 Funayuki 165mm knife. This knife has a core steel of Aogami or blue paper number 1, which is a little unusual. Carbon steel, reactive steel. The core is approximately 61 to 63 Rockwell, and the construction is an iron, soft iron cladding, reactive cladding on top of that core steel. So it's an all-reactive blade. It has what's known as a KU or Kuda Uchi blacksmith finish, and you've also got what's shiny there is the lacquer coating. So this has a food-safe lacquer coating over the entire blade. I would recommend sharpening this knife out of the box, as you might have some lacquer on the edge, and that will come off quickly by sharpening the knife, or at least putting it on a strop or a steel. You can really see the core steel showing up well. This is a pretty knife. It's nicely made. It's got a cool feel to it. The weight on this knife is very light at 4 ounces, 113 grams. Blade length, slightly over 165 at 167. And the overall length is a little over 12 inches. The spine at the heel area of the top here is about 3, tapers down pretty rapidly, holds quite a bit of that, and then doesn't have a ton of distal taper at all, but tapers down a little bit when you hit the grind right here. So it's not super duper thin at the tip. The height of the blade is 44 millimeters on this sample. They will all vary just a little bit from knife to knife. The handle is an octagonal wood handle. It's got a nice single piece. There's no ferrule on it. It's a real nice handle. It's got a 2 7/8 inch circumference. I measure those approximately where the ferrule would be on it. The only downside of this is that lacquer coating on the handle can get a little slick when it gets wet, so you could always sand that or rough it up just a little bit if you wanted to. Probably more of a pro aspect than a home user aspect on that. The balance point on the knife is right there, just about on a pinch grip. And one characteristic of the knife on the grind is these Buhos have, the way they hammered them out, they've got it ramps up into the spine. So hopefully you can kind of see that effect there. So the spine is a little thicker. This probably shows it better, but it kind of ramps up a little bit towards the spine. And this particular one didn't perform quite as good as the Yamashin Funayuki, I think because the tip's not quite as thin, and it does wedge just slightly and stuff, but it's a really cool knife to use, and it does go through product pretty well. The out-of-the-box edge on it was decent, but you can sharpen it up much sharper very quickly on the stones. And this has a real flat profile. The Yamashin has a flat profile. This might even be a little flatter. So let's look at it, and it's not super thin behind the edge either, but it's still a pretty good performing knife. It's a fun knife to use. So there's the profile. This actually, I'm just feeling it on the board, this has more of a heel that you hit. So this kind of stops. The Yamashin does as well, but this has even longer flat spot just compared to the Yamashin. So there you go. You can still rock with it a bit. And let's see, we covered the balance point already right there. And the fit and finish is pretty good on it. It's got fairly decent relief on the choil neck and spine. I don't think you'd have to sand that at all. And just like the Yamashin, this would be a good knife to learn to sharpen on because it's got a pretty flat profile. It's not too long, and it's got easy to sharpen carbon steel, which makes for a win-win-win on sharpening and makes you feel confident as a sharpener. So if you're learning to freehand, these would be good knives to learn on, and they're not super expensive. So there you have the Murata Buho Blue number 1 Funayuki 165mm knife.